Right. Check 1 2. 1 2. Testing. Let's see here. Check check. All right. Just getting this situated. How's everybody doing? Seems like a bit late. Sorry. Always something else going on. Let's see here. It's been a while. There we are. Okay. So how's everybody doing? What's going on? And we'll see how the stream goes today. If we don't have a lot of questions or people, may cut it a little short today, only because I got a lot going on today actually that I need to take care of. So I might only go for an hour instead of the originally planned 2. So just an FYI. What's up, Mr. Lewis? All right. No problem. Any knowledge is good knowledge. Cool. So yeah, if anybody has any ZBrush questions and anything, I'm not going to be. This is like starting to get into kind of the nitty gritty of things, so it's not going to be like big bold moves right now until we get to the body, and then that'll be like some new construction of everything. But it's just kind of tweaking the face here at this point, and then I might start going into a little bit more like pore detail, even a bit. The more subtle expressions, or I shouldn't say expressions, but skin textures. Um, Got to fix the glasses still. Got to figure that out. But yeah, kind of fixed the teeth the other day. I feel like they look a little lopsided there, and I think that might be because the gums are lopsided, not so much that um, not that his teeth should be that way. So I'll probably fix that. I know it's not the most exciting thing, as I've had people complain, but hey, it's part of the process. No, they look rotated actually. Yeah, what the hell? How did that happen? Huh. That's weird. It must have happened by accident right before I wrapped up last time. Yeah, they're totally like rotated up and awkwardly. It's weird because it's amazing. It's just a few teeth you can see in the front, yet I could tell just from that because we're so attuned to how things should look on the face. And a little trick for those who don't know, if you take your Move Topological brush and put it to 1, you can grab individual meshes and move them independently like this, which is always nice. When you want to work fast, just get things into the position they need to be in if they're close to it, but not exact. But what I did here with the eyebrows was just something just to help kind of bring our vision of his face a little bit more toward what we normally see. Because sometimes when you have things in just one color or just under different lighting circumstances, it can throw off your perception of things, and you were like keep doubting, your second guessing yourself. But it's like we're getting there. I feel like things are still a little off, a little bit off. But it's only because of the expression also. Because for those who haven't been here before, for anyone new, grab the scan, which was obviously then triangulated and reduced in poly count, but from Cyberpunk. So this is his face from whenever they scanned it, which would be I would think semi recently, meaning in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, probably less. So obviously facial expression or facial features, weight, especially like ear, nose, would be slightly different from 1998 or 1999 when they were. I guess it would be 98 or 97 when they were filming The Matrix, for when this was shot, obviously. So 20 years will make somewhat of a difference in the face. It obviously could be more drastic if someone drank a lot or gained a lot of weight or lost a lot of weight. But in this case, as he's stayed pretty fit, obviously, and looks generally very close to what he did then, I think the changes would mostly be primarily just a little bit in the nose and a little bit in the ears, but just slight. So anyway, so using that and having used ZBrush to really get a lot of the details 100% matched to the scan. And then, of course, there's some of the expression change. Obviously, when he's sneering with mouth open, that's going to have an impact on the face. But the more I think about it, the more I think there might be a little bit too much buildup here in the front of the cheeks, on top of the zygomatic area, around the orbital bone. So I might bring this. I might tone down the kind of the fat, you could say, or just the level of tissue right in here around the eyes. I think I might just bring that down a little bit, even though the glasses are going to be covering up a bit of that. I think that still could help probably just bring in a little bit more of his likeness to be more realistic. So we're going to try to do that now. Also might match the nose a little bit better, but it's pretty close. And again, there would be some crinkling, there would be some compression and buildup of tissue and skin when someone has this expression. So yeah, so we're gonna do a little bit of work here, and so we'll come over here to ZBrush brush, turn off RGB because there's no use for that right now. We'll see. That's a lot of bulk actually here compared to what he actually has going on. So I think I might have definitely bulked it up a little too much, probably thinking in my head of my own face and how things, I have more tissue here than he does, so that could be subconsciously part of it. Just thinking of this expression, but when you really see, when you look here, you kind of see how there's a significant dip still, even though he's making that expression. It's mostly shown on the nasolabial fold. It's not really shown right underneath the eyes and on top of the zygomatic area, so I think this needs to be knocked back. So we'll see how much damage we can do. Let's go back. Let's make this one stroke, not 20. All right, so oops. Oh, I hate dynamic. I thought I saved it to say keep it off the whole time, but apparently not. So now I'm just using smooth, holding shift and letting go of shift and dragging to kind of have it average out. Holding Alt to alternate from sub to add. So it's bringing up, as you can see, this sunk down a little bit below the mesh. So it's kind of bringing it back up. Now using smooth, combination of ZProject smooth, and even here I use a little bit of move because maybe this went down a little too deep. So it's a bridge a little too far to cross for ZProject. So interesting, just to do that. I don't think he has necessarily that much of a wrinkle under his eye either. So let me open up Pure Ref here because I had this last time. Let me see if I can bring back what I had going on last time. Uh, King of Targ. Well, definitely try to buy recent version of ZBrush, please. But yeah, your mouse wheel, you have to you can YouTube that. That's I forget how to do it actually. So I can't answer that. It's not very challenging to do though. I forget where. I think it's in here actually. Um, so yeah, so there's a custom way to do this. So you go to document, in and out. It says mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down. But how you assign that, I forget. So just YouTube that though. It's on YouTube. Joseph Drust, when he was with Pixologic, he did a whole Ask How, Ask ZBrush, and explains exactly how to do that. That's how I learned how to do it because I didn't know how to do it either, and it was annoying until that should be standard. Like that should be because it's standard in like Maya and everywhere else. But for whatever reason, it's not standard when you open ZBrush. So yeah. So pardon me 1 second. Let's just take a bite of some food. I'm starving and haven't had anything all day. It's been a busy day. So anyway, let's see. How do I open up? All right, load recent. There we go. Okay. So here are some good shots of Keanu's face. So yeah, any kind of bags under the eyes are really minimal with him. He's got a very clean zygomatic cheek area in there. It's not kind of like my eyes or others who have a little bit more bulge to the eyes, and they also have a bit more of the you can see just a bit more of the weight in the eyes, sort of bags under the eyes a bit. Get a little bit more of that, but he doesn't have that, which is always great. This creates a more attractive, clean face, Generally, you'll find people who, I mean, attractive is of course relative, but I'm just talking about like, again, generalities. Like what a lot of people typically look at a face and think that looks better than some other faces would be when it's, you don't have a lot of bags under the eyes or like bulging eyes, but it's just very clean, less folds, less wrinkles, less everything. Like the cleaner the surface, obviously, the generally more attractive the face can be, or is determined to be. So that's always interesting, but also makes the face a bit more simplistic, just a little bit less detail, and that's where we look at that subconsciously and think symmetry, simplicity, quickly understood, grasped, that kind of mental experience is yeah, it's where we go, is what our brain thinks are more attractive features. So anyway, so yeah, this needs to go. Again, I'll probably smooth this out, average it out between the two, because we see where that is. I guess I could just sort of just follow the. I guess I could just follow the scan. No, I'm gonna do the whole body. Crab Mike 91. Yeah. It's good. I'm doing the whole thing. It's just the face is the most important part, obviously. So just been focusing a lot, obviously, on that, and primarily, mostly just on the stream. So it's almost very little work has been done off stream. So that's why it's just taking forever. Because I'm doing most of it in front of you guys. Guys and gals. And a lot of the techniques I'm doing is a lot of how scan cleanups happen in the industry. I mean, I'm working in a studio right now, and this workflow is nearly exactly what we do. Granted, I'm being much more like just time consuming in my process here because I have the time, and um, every face is different, so that's also why this is at a different pace, and also it's where it's at because of also questions and diverging conversations and distractions and all that. But yeah, this is sort of this is basically what would happen if I had to do this expression of this face on a scan. So yeah, interesting. The volume difference helps. I think that definite sync, the depletion of bunched up tissue there, definitely helps. Definitely, obviously, brings it more to because like when you view it from this angle, you can see a clear difference there on how that line flows into where he's lacking buccal fat, which also makes a more thin or gaunt face. And in this case, obviously, it just makes it more shape, more like defined shape because it's not too sunken in or extremely sunken in. Unlike other actors, maybe like Johnny Depp, who has a lot like a more sharper, um, higher cheekbone, I think, and also higher zygomatic, but also a more definitive lack of buccal fat in the cheeks. So here you can see it's just much more of a stronger curve, or less stronger, I should say. And this is slope, and this is more steep slope. It actually goes inward a little bit, a little concave. So you can see the difference from left to right. So it's going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm thinking there might even be a little bit more pullback here as well. I don't know. Yeah, it's looking good. Better. All right. My God, come on. Yes, also would make a lot more sense for these to be a bit more pulled in here. Hey, Leonardo from South Africa. How you doing? Um, check on the mouth, because sometimes when you do some projection like this, you can screw up some of the polygons and like yank them out toward the cheek. Whoa, big volume difference there. Wow. Alright, yeah, so that looks wrong. This needs to go back. I know the feeling, guys. Uh, Leonard, sorry, says, "Fine, thanks. Wish I wasn't as proficient in ZBrush as you are. It's frustrating not knowing how to do things, so I'm sticking around and hopefully picking up a few tips." Yeah, I know the path to learning ZBrush can be a bit laborious and intimidating and frustrating because I've been there. I mean, we all had to start somewhere. Um, and while I was learning it, I was also helping someone who used to work at Pixologic back then. They had already left. They had started their own educational website, and I was lucky enough to eventually be recommended to be hired by them after I took 2 of their courses. And I picked it up quickly enough from their courses at that time to be able to work with them and kind of be a assistant teacher, you could say, moderator and assistant to all the different teachers that were coming through there. At that time, it was called ZBrush Workshops, and Ryan Kingsling was the owner of it. And now I don't know what the name of his site is. It seems like he changes the name every couple years, which is a little weird, a little suspicious. um, but for the time when I was there, it was Vigilarium or it was ZBrush Workshops, and then it became the Vigilarium. Anyway, I picked up ZBrush quick from following his earlier videos, and then also asking a friend of mine who was his right hand man at the time was William Detry, and William helped me a lot. And then I was able to kind of moderate Paul Gabry's Mastering ZBrush, and that really accelerated my knowledge too. And ZBrush was like my gateway drug into 3D in general. So the fact that the viewport, where we're working, the document inside where we're working right now it was so up in front and featured, and just seemed to really keep things focused on art. It was like the art is what you're focusing on, not vertices and edges and point counts and menus, and like that's what it felt like for me when I looked at Maya. It was just, and then now of course I work in Maya rather fluently, but I don't like it still. I don't enjoy it. It's just what we have to do, and you get, like anything, you practice it, you get better at it, you get fluent, you get fast, you get fluid, and so that's why I feel like I'm in now in Maya years later. But I hated Maya in the beginning, so that's why ZBrush was like far more welcoming, far more comfortable, and less intimidating than Maya. I mean, and that's, everyone's different, so maybe you find Maya way more. I mean, maybe I'm saying you as the generic you. People out there perhaps find Maya more accessible, more logical, because I know there's a lot of quirks in ZBrush, and there's definitely quirks in Maya too, and headaches in Maya. So no program is perfect, and that's like nobody's perfect, but I found that for me, ZBrush was far more welcoming and just naturalistic, because my brain is like, I understand clay, right? I can wrap my mind around a ball of clay, and I would always sculpt as a child. Um, but more so draw, actually. And so this is kind of like that in between, because I'm looking at a screen where I'm seeing what you're seeing directly on the screen on the Cintiq. So it's like a cross between drawing and sculpting. So it's almost like my pencil, my stylus, is almost like a sort of like a weird tube of toothpaste, right? Where it's either like squirting out material that's adding to it, or sucking it up and removing it, or digging into it, kind of like it's like a scoop, almost like a spoon or something. And then there's of course the move brushes, which are just like pinching or points or grabbing a certain area and then like pulling it out or pushing it inward, and that's the move brush. And then your standard brush is kind of like the tube of toothpaste, like I said. So just being able to understand that in general, so that was like the foundation of the pyramid that led up to more knowledge for me in ZBrush. And no one really explained it to me that way necessarily. I just sort of watched that and observed that, and that's how I kind of absorbed it. Um, so yeah, but it's, anyway, all that to say, it wasn't easy. Like, it wasn't like a smooth, easy ride necessarily. There was a lot of questions and frustrations, and then also a time before I got serious about it where I was fumbling around in the program, and it was really frustrating, because I didn't take my education seriously, and I didn't like formally organize my life to learn it. So after working a horrible job in a corporation for a while, it started out great and then it got horrible. Um, that eventually got my ass in gear, and I decided, like, all right, I'm going to get serious about this. I'm going to use money I'm going to pay to learn this, and that's a big part of it. It's like the cliche goes, like, you get what you pay for. If you're just floundering around on YouTube and looking everywhere, you can definitely get your answers, and you can learn for free on YouTube. But if you find a good school online, which you can find a bunch now, I mean, you can learn mostly, I'd say you could learn on Gnomon. Gnomon's a really famous one. Gnomon, the Gnomon Workshop, you can learn from there. I'm trying to think what else now. What is it called? Because the digital tutors used to be digital tutors. Now I think it's Pluralsight. I'm assuming, I haven't checked it, but they were always good before, so I'm assuming hopefully they're still good now for learning ZBrush. You can find things on Gumroad. Of course, you can find things on YouTube. But just best to find people that trainers that you see the work that they've done. Hopefully they've worked in the industry, of course. You want to find people who actually, are working in the industry, like myself and others. But that doesn't mean they're good teachers. They might be good at what they do, but they may not be good communicators of how to do X, Y, or Z. So you want to find those who are good communicators, those who are good educators, and who also will have, the patience, and just the spirit to be a good teacher. Because there are people in many industries who shouldn't be in them, as far as just how they conduct themselves, how they treat people, and what their patience levels are. And that's why I don't teach too much, I'll be honest. So self-deprecating. I'm not the most patient person ever. Not that I'm ever like, I don't try to be mean or rude to people who are new to something. But I'm someone who's is much more passionate about doing than teaching, in general. And but I've been told by friends, like, oh, you should teach more. And I offer classes like private one-on-one, but I do that also because it's like, I know if someone's going to be paying me privately directly to teach them, that they're usually more serious than a group of people or a massive amount of people that just kind of want to learn but don't really, and they don't want to apply themselves, and they ask dumb questions that, and I say dumb questions, there's no dumb question. Yeah, there's some dumb questions. It's dumb when you can Google how to do blank, literally spell the words. How to do X, whatever you're trying to do in ZBrush version, blah, 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 that kind of thing. If you don't at least do that first and you're just coming to be spoon fed, that's when I'm just turned off. And a lot of instructors are, really, honestly. If you talk to them behind the scenes, they'll either tell you the same thing. It's people being lazy. It's not attractive, and it's not appealing for any teacher really in any industry. It's pretty annoying. So people being driven, passionate, um, acting intelligently, at least in how they go about acquiring the information that they supposedly want to acquire and want to learn. If they're being proactive about that and they're going out and seeking out the information on their own, at least try, and then they don't find it, then come and ask the instructor. That makes a lot more sense than being like, how do you do this? I don't want to learn. Like, I mean, I don't want to go do the work. And again, it's one thing if you're in a course and you have access to the person right there. And sometimes, yeah, there's certain questions I even have, I don't know certain things about. And it's nice to be able to go directly to somebody and ask them that. But that's also when I've still exhausted the moment of Googling, right? Like I've still at least tried, I've at least typed in, like, how do I do blah? If I can't find it, if it's just too esoteric, too much of a very specific niche kind of, action or just unique process that you're trying to do that it's possible, but you just don't know how to do it. That's a different story. So anyway, yeah, I'll shut up now. Work ethic. That's basically what it comes down to. Is somebody who shows good work ethic will get better responses from their instructors than people who are lazy or who just aren't slightly interested. So I'm using the soft form. Soft form. Wow, switching letters around. I'm using the soft form brush or form soft brush. Excuse me, man. Being dyslexic right now. So you can see all these brushes down here are the ones I often use the most. Standard, move, clay buildup, move topological. Topological is also a setting though. That's not just assigned to that brush. You can assign it to any brush. And even doing like smooth topological, that's not a brush. I mean, but you can choose a smooth brush or like super smooth or smooth stronger. It's a brush in Lightbox here, which I use often too. And I have to like take scan data that's really dense and I need to smooth out areas very quickly, or on a mesh that's being applied to match the scan data of an actor. And then I want to smooth out a higher density mesh that has things that have like either imploded or like if someone else wrapped it in some way, but then it's like punched up a bunch of geo like in the fingers or in the toes. Excuse me, I keep wanting to say super smooth. I should call it that. Your smooth, stronger brush. I'll show you right here. So you go to Lightbox, go to brush, go to where's smooth. I feel like it's right in front of me, but where is it? Shouldn't it be right in here? Standard. There we go. Smooth stronger right here. So that is great. But then if you also, so for that's if you want to smooth like really dense meshes. But for even regular smooth, you can turn on topological, just this button right here, and you can find that button. This is my custom UI, but you can turn that on and off for any brush. If you want to pull it out and drag it into your UI, you come into, I think is it brush? Which one? Where is it now? I'm trying to remember where topological is. I think it's in brush. And where is it? Modifiers? No. Smooth brush modifiers. No, that's interesting though. Oh, where's topological? Now I'm trying to remember. I wish they had a topological masking. Oh, maybe it's under brush masking, I guess. Where the heck is it? See, again, could Google this, I guess. What the heck? Where is this? Surface? No. It's not modifiers. It wouldn't be under stroke, right? It's not curve. Where is this? See, it's like you get used to certain setups and then you never access them again once you hunt them down. You hunt down the buttons, put them where you want, and then you just leave it. So then you don't really come back. It's not under alpha. You don't really come back to the buttons in their proper place. So something like this, topological, it's not used a ton. Is there we go. So it's auto masking. So under brush, You scroll down here to auto masking, and then right at the bottom is topological. And you can change the ranges here for how much it will smooth, and all these different options here. So that's how you control masking. You have other masking options here too. You have directional, you have cavity, back face masking. Back face is another really important one. That's why I pulled it out here. So that will stop you from touching or moving the back faces of Geo, right? So it'll only do what you see on the surface, not behind it. That can be really useful, but also sometimes will inhibit the function of some brushes too. So you have to, do a kind of checks and balances kind of thing when it comes to that, and see how those brushes affect what you're working on. All right, so that doesn't look quite right. Let's see here. I think there's a shot I have of him actually making this similar expression from the side, but it's really grainy. But let me see if I can find it quick. Or it's not grainy, I mean, it's like pixelated, or it's low res because I had to snap it off screen because freaking iTunes doesn't let you screenshot anything to protect the IP. I don't know. So it's not helpful. Okay, not really. But still, you can at least see kind of you can see the general line here. It's pretty straight. It's really not pulled inward or outward. It's like pretty straight. So I would think even if he's doing this, it's just gonna just sort of pitch up, but it's not going to really be pulled back or inward or outward. Okay, so with that knowledge, this looks pretty good. This one's a little fishy, a little wonky. Do a little improper kind of zoom here. I say improper because it's like digitally magnifying an image. It pixelates it by blowing it up, so it's making it bigger, but it's pixelating it because it's moving the whole canvas toward the camera instead of moving the camera. Well, either way, it's same thing. I mean, it had the same problematic effect, but it just helps me just get a better, closer look at what's going on over there. Let's check in chat. Nice wallpaper in the background. Oh, thanks. Jarn Skaggle says, is it laziness or is it apprehension to the pain of learning, looking for reasons to justify not starting? The mixture of that, yeah, for sure. Either way, it's not taking action, and that's where you kind of have to learn to push yourself off that cliff. You have to force yourself sometimes just to start doing something. Even like working out, if you've ever gotten serious about working out and then gotten off of it, and now I'm trying to, like, for myself, and last year I really didn't work out almost at all. It's terrible. Half of it was because I nearly like broke my leg. I tore my soleus, which is the muscle deep inside the calf. Tore it pretty bad. Massive inflammation, bleeding internally a little bit. It was terrible. It was a horrible injury that took about 7 to 8 months to fully heal. Just at least, I shouldn't say fully heal. It's just for me to walk again properly without having like a boot or like limping around or anything.
But now I'm still feeling like a bit of tension there. It's probably some scar tissue from just the healing, because I had it sort of atrophied a little bit, I think, because I wasn't able to walk on it normally. So I'm slowly getting back into running and even just doing like, long leg movements and kicks and just getting back into normal full range of motion. But that being said, it just adds to, yeah, it's like pain of some type that it doesn't make working out appealing necessarily. But again, you have to just sort of force yourself to start. And as soon as you get going, endorphins start getting released, or you start seeing some progression in your work, even just a little bit, like a little bit of progression every day or at least once a week or whatever. It's just consistent progression is always going to be better than none, right? Obviously, duh. But it's still, you got to push yourself. You got to, like, even if you don't want to and you want to, whatever, sit around and watch a movie or go out with friends or, whatever you want to do instead of doing what you should be doing, learning ZBrush or, whatever discipline you're trying to get better at. Just force yourself to start. Just start it, even like for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. And before you know it, you'll probably get into it. You'll find that, scratch that itch a little bit, and suddenly you'll be like, all right, this is starting to feel good. This is interesting. I'm glad that I'm liking what I'm seeing. Or even just getting answers to questions you had, even that alone can help stimulate, further work. So furthering your knowledge. So take that into consideration. Do you use a default lighting setup for sculpting? Yeah, generally. I think I might have tweaked it a little bit here. But I generally try to keep the light kind of like that. Yeah, like kind of off center, top right, kind of downward, so that it's still top down mostly, but it's at a slight angle so you get shadows and so you can see form well. I think that's how the standard starts, or maybe the standard, I feel like the standard might be over here or might be up a little bit more. I don't remember, but I barely modified it if at all, what I remember. Spending a few hours a day just sculpting. Learn most of what I know through Pixologic site, trial and error, Google, watching this channel, as well as some other YouTube channels. Sculpting ZBrush, really enjoy the software. Yeah, software is great. Yeah, software is awesome. Just takes time. Do you think ZBrush was used in creating the movie Bill and Ted Face the Music? Probably. I mean, more than likely. Yeah. I mean, especially if they did like, I'm guessing they did some sort of scan for them at some point or another. If they have digidoubles, if you have a digital double of somebody that's going around and doing something else that is inhuman or too dangerous, nowadays, a lot of places that are major VFX studios will either have their own scanning setup or rent a place or even just like use in other facilities scanning abilities to scan actors, to do photogrammetry of some type, so you have a 3D scan of them, and then you can do a bunch of cleanup work, which is kind of what I'm doing here. And that'll help, keep the digidouble looking like them. So hopefully you don't think, oh, that's a digital double of somebody, that's a CG human. You just think, oh wow, that's crazy, they did whatever. When you're watching the movie. So yeah, I'm sure they more than likely use ZBrush at some point in Bill and Ted. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just was thinking back through the whole thing because I love that movie. I haven't seen it since it came out, so that was like last year. There was the whole hell scene, and so like all the rocks and things that are in the background, the demons and things that are digital. Obviously, that's like they must have gone to ZBrush for a lot of that. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, ZBrush is like it's right up there with Maya, and V-Ray and RenderMan. It's one of those standard tools that is used practically in every movie now, especially with anything organic or anything that's been scanned from the real world and then plugged in. It's more than likely gone through ZBrush. It's like ZBrush and Maya and like ZWrap or Wrap. I mean, Houdini. I mean, there's so much software. Ziva is becoming something that's really becoming a quick standard, I think, for a lot of creature and or human muscle movements. It's really incredible software. It looks so natural. The movement, the bulging, it helps create artificial digital muscles that will then deform skin and whatnot, and it just looks so natural, and it's worked when it's applied properly. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that a lot of movies use commonly, and I'm pretty sure that Bill and Ted Facing Music, like I bet money on it for sure. Like it had to have, didn't have to, but more than likely had ZBrush used in it for sure. Um, yeah, that was a fun movie. I liked it. Keanu makes a lot of good choices, I think. Like what and I'm sure there's a filtration system of like whoever his managers or publicists or whoever, maybe not manager, publicists, like managers or agents, whoever filters, screenplays to him. I think they do a decent job of, only giving him things that they think would work, and then of course whatever he selects generally is pretty good. usually. Yeah, I mean, there's very few films that he's done that I didn't enjoy, and it's not, and it was almost never because of him. Of course, it was just the writing, screenplays, just some of the writings. Man. But yeah, no, especially lately, man. It's like the Keanu Sans, right? Matthew McConaughey had the McConaissance. I think we're having the Keanu Sans now. We're having a resurgence of just one great film of Keanu after another, which is awesome. Excuse me. The John Wick movies are freaking fantastic. So much fun. It's just good old fashioned badassery action. Um, yeah, it's hard not to enjoy them. Interesting that jawline came out a little bit. I'm going to do a little pinch here, so bring these two areas of the nasolabial fold together along this way. Let's do it gently so we don't make it too extreme. I think this probably still has to come down a little bit though, so let's smooth it out. Using Alt and Move to pull the underlying geo up. Let's see. So save. Um, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, any video game, Death Stranding for sure. Yeah, no. I mean, anything that has like organic looking shapes at all. ZBrush. I mean, and you can even do hard surface stuff in ZBrush 2 easily now. But I mean, anything that's organic today, if it had to have any kind of sculpting done or naturalistic look to it, aside from plants, because plants are a little weird. There's a lot of generators for that for plants because they're so dense and so detailed that they make them with something like SpeedTree or a whole bunch of other programs you can get for like plugins for 3ds Max, Maya, Blender, even. But aside from plants, other things that are organic, even like trees, but trees are SpeedTree, of course, you can do that there. But I mean, there's anything that's organic, rocks even. To of course creatures, humans, all that stuff. If a game has any of those elements, it used ZBrush most likely a lot. So yeah. But there are things that ZBrush does great, and there are things that it doesn't do well, unfortunately, like UV and editing that. So a lot of times, more often than not, that goes to other programs like Maya. So you have a mixture. That's why I said you kind of need different tools, just like an orchestra. Not every instrument can do all. Every instrument has its own its own path and its own thing that it brings to a full sound. So just like that with ZBrush and other programs, each of them have their strengths and weaknesses, or just inability to do certain things altogether. So, for instance, the UVing and doing things in UDIMs, you can do a little bit of that in ZBrush, but again, it would be probably faster in a lot of ways to use other programs for that, um, like Maya or um, even like Rhizome. Rhizome has some great UV tools. So there's a lot of other options to do certain things like that better. Fortunately, unfortunately, because it's nice to stay in ZBrush a lot, and I don't really want to go into other programs a lot of times, but it's a necessity. You have to, because you can't do those tasks in ZBrush, or not at least do them as effectively as needs to be done for a production. So because of that, ZBrush has to be left behind at times and then picked right back up. So I just got rid of that nasolabial fold and gonna go recreate it now. As you can see, at least a line where it's naturally on his face, even just a little bit right there. So then it's just a matter of straightening that out, because the nose kind of pulls it up. So I guess that's what kind of straightens it a bit too. So we will copy that. It's nice that the topology here lines up with it nicely, so you can get a nice clean, crisp fold into the skin, because the topology, as you can see here, the lines flow in the exact same path. I gotta pull a little bit of this back, I think, or forward, I guess. The nose. What about the nose? Oh, interesting. Okay. Sorry, Chris was asking, did I ever get my scanner, my new scanner? I did, and I haven't really used it, but just because I got really sick and then I got busy. But ironically, or not ironically, but interestingly, I guess been seeing a lot of negative experiences people have been having with it, and feeling like they've, as what is typical, sadly, it's too often all that's common with Chinese companies, is that they'll even like steal or rip off type, like copy, like written copy from other products, and then throw it in to their manuals. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's just like such a desperate way to make a buck. So I mean, apparently it works, but doesn't work as well as it could. Surprise, surprise. Seems like it kind of comes off slightly better than like a lot of other common scanners you can get, or like photogrammetry scanners that you buy, that are made here, or like that are just a bit more reputable. But not, it's still like it's still not as good as like buying a Creeform or a Arctech, like those brands of scanners that cost. I think the cheapest is like 15 grand, and then it goes up from there. So it's like buying a car, it's like buying a cheap car. it's a bit much for I mean, unless it's like that's your bread and butter, you know what I mean? Unless you're a studio or somebody who is scanning a shit ton of stuff and then, you know, making a lot of money on what you're scanning, or at least the end product of it. So, um, yeah, 20 grand for a decent scanner. Still, it's a bit steep for my budget when it comes to a scanner. I'd love to have a good one, but spending that much on one is just not really in the cards. It wouldn't be responsible for me at all to drop that kind of money on a scanner currently. Um, if things in my financial situation improve, if some crypto goes through or some stocks really go through that I've been told very well could, that could be a big help, of course. And then I'll probably maybe I'll get an architect or a Creatform scanner. But if those cases don't happen, yeah, this boy's not doing that kind of scanning yet. Unless a studio around LA has one I can borrow. I mean, I guess you have to be able to rent them, right? It has to be a place that rents them. Although I think the my guess would be the insurance and deposits will probably be very high too. All right, catching up on chat here for a minute. Um, let's just kind of throw things off a little bit. Yeah, they look like they're in the right place. It's just odd. Sorry, what were you saying? Yeah, I hate that as a beginner. I mean, I like sculpting, but I don't want to waste more money on other programs like Maya just for UVs. Sure, no, I get that. But still, ZBrush is awesome. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like, uh, ZBrush's UV Master is fine. Like it can work okay. You can do some decent stuff with it, but it's still it's more cumbersome when it comes to being more precise than if you're working with something like Maya. Hello, what's your favorite brush of all time in ZBrush? The one you think is powerful and use often. I mean, I guess a standard brush would be the one I guess I would go to the most because it seems like it's the most all-around useful brush. But I mean, like I said, there are these 12 here you got here that are and even I would add more and probably maybe I might remove one or two of these. Kind of like high polish, I don't use that much. I might actually replace that with ZProject because I feel like I use ZProject more than I do high polish. But these are all useful. These are all like trim dynamic, pinch. These are all useful brushes that I use a lot. Um, yeah, /3 is tremendously useful. Maybe clay buildup I don't use as much either. I mean, I don't know, it might be a tie between which one I use the least out of all these would be between clay buildup and high polish. I feel like I almost might use high polish more than clay buildup. Clay buildup is useful too, but I feel like maybe it'd be better for me to swap it out for ZProject because I just feel like I use ZProject so much now, both at work and on my personal stuff that um, it's often very handy. So yeah, but yeah, I mean standard brush. I've had to just pick one. But oh, Chris, you're asking about that scanner. Yeah, I'll try it out. I'll see if I can try it out this week. Maybe today. Maybe today. Or if not, sometime this week, and I'll let you know next stream, I guess. Or I'll post about it on my Instagram. Um, so for those who don't know, for those who aren't regulars, or who haven't followed me yet, please do. Um, if you like. This is my Instagram handle. I hate social media, honestly. I'm not a big fan. But it's a useful tool, and it's sort of necessary for the work I do. But I'm kind of an old crotchety guy. I guess I'm an old man in that sense. So I'm just like, ugh, these kids in their TikToks and Instagrams and Facebooks, and I don't really want to engage with almost any of it, really. Twitter, ugh. I mean, especially now where it's just anger. A lot of it's anger. Not all of it, of course, but there's just a lot of just political anger, frustration from both sides at each other. So, I mean, it's like, and I'll throw in my 2 cents here and there sometimes just to stir the pot, just to get people a little riled up. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, whatever. Yeah, social media is kind of a bit of a shit show. So, yeah, I feel like it's looking better though, man. I feel like we got there. The nose still looks odd because again, it's like you don't calmly walk around with your your nose like flailing out, your nostrils
flaring out like this. This is in the heat of battle. It's in the moment when he's getting shot at in the movie, of course, and so he's got to have that moment of grit and just like biting the bullet and getting ready to go in. So I get it, you know. So that also means that his expression here will look a little odd, but I think it's looking pretty good. I feel like that adjustment in the cheeks and around the eyes actually really helped a lot. Like duh, and it should have, I guess, right? I should have done that sooner because I was letting again, I was doing what all of us do a lot of times, whether you're a professional or you're someone still learning or you know the very beginning of art. It's always a struggle to, and it's even more embarrassing, I guess you could say, in this sense, more shameful for me because a I've have years of experience of doing this, and also b I have a freaking scan right here of his face. It's like, it's just, but you assume and you feel like you know that certain muscles do these things when you make these expressions, but he really wasn't pulling up the muscles there that much. It's the nose, and so then it drags things more centrally, right? That's why the nasolabial folds are there, more emphasized. But this area, he's not doing this, right? He's not smiling, or he's not even wincing. It's just this, right? So when you're just pulling this up, opening mouth, you're barely. I mean, this moves up a little bit, but since he doesn't have a lot of meat here, it's you're not going to see it that much. So again, I should probably raise it up at least to match a little bit more of this scan, which I tried, but I feel like it's just right underneath there. So might just have to manually do it because the project doesn't want to seem to pull it up anymore. But I think it would still be very minimal, right? It just seems like he doesn't have a lot of tissue there. That's just it's not an area that really gets pulled up much on his face, at least not in this shot. So yeah, probably not going to get the textures like skin pore textures and details today, obviously. Uh, but that's coming. Maybe next stream, or maybe if I actually tackle this midweek, and I'll let you guys know on my Instagram. I'll say, hey, going live today or tomorrow or something. Um, I'll let you guys know if I wind up doing any more of this during the week. But often I don't work much during the week because I'm working full time from home for a studio. So with Digital Domain currently, and they're awesome, by the way. I gotta say, great studio, great people. Definitely love them. So That just eats up a lot of time, though. Of course, it's at least 8 hours a day, and yeah, it drains you a bit. You know, any full time gig like that usually it drains you a little bit, and so you need to decompress and disconnect from ZBrush or whatever, 3D Maya, and just need some decompression, need some mental release, and also like just getting up and walking around more obviously helps, but like just getting away from the computer for a while. But then by that point, you're just always like, I'm good, I'm done, I'm tired. I want to go out and grab some food with friends or see the beach, whatever. Um, See the ocean, get some fresh air, go for a walk on the ocean, on the beachfront, something like that. So I'm trying to get out more, trying to get more vitamin D from the sun, and uh, just try to just take care of myself a little bit more in the healthy mental space, I guess you could say. Just kind of getting a little bit more balance with just getting out and enjoying nature, and yeah. So anyway, so that leads me to not working intensely on other projects during the week. Sadly, even though mentally I want to, but physically my body's kind of just like, no, you should do something else. You should rest. So yeah. So yeah, I was gonna do this earlier, but just to help with perception uh, of his face, just gonna make his irises brown quickly. Amazing how that warms up the face, just the eye color even alone. Just from like kind of dead and cold to like warmth, more human. Interesting. And then insect. Yeah, let's see. Let's just give him. This is again just super quick and dirty, but let's just give him some. Let's give him some skin tone here, and that's a little green. So the color grading. So I want to warm it up just a little bit. Actually, that probably is the wrong sample. I should probably get it from more like here. I think it's a little bit more red. And let's see what happens. Oh wait, yeah, we don't want to do the eyebrows. So let's see. Can we mask by color easily here? How do we do this? Yeah, this is like a new, this is like the new, I think this is like the new, they introduced this more recently. Wait, is the lower jaw masked? Shouldn't be. All right, mask by color, mask by poly paint. Okay, so then if we interesting. What does that say? Overwrite mask, blur mask. Okay, yeah, that still doesn't need to be masked like that, but okay. This is a bit strong of a border, so we can sharpen. Let's bring it down a level or two. Grow, sharpen, grow, sharpen, sharpen, grow, invert. All right, so that should be good enough. And so now we're just gonna add really basic skin tone. This might look terrible, probably will, but not too bad. I mean, it looks very video gamey. Of course, it needs some kind of lip color. Oh, that's almost spot on. But again, even though the model, I'm not going to be UVing this or texturing it for visual effects because this is all going to be 3D printed. That looks better. But still, just to get a feel, this is all just an experiment quickly, just to see like how does this look. You know, if given the proper skin tone, just given the right tonality visually, how is this face really looking? You know, this is just a nice way to, a fun, easy experiment to do, just to smooth it, just to see where we stand and see if this actually looks pretty good or if it's still like off a ways, like more significantly than I thought. And incidentally, for anyone curious, yeah, this is how you could start texturing for, you know, a project that you would have like a video game or a movie or whatever. I mean, this is not the most ideal way at all. Poly paints, you know, could be a good base, and you can even do some final work like this too if you really, really wanted to. But usually, I would take something like this, start maybe a nice base here like this in ZBrush, very quick and dirty, and then go into Substance Painter before they were bought by Adobe, and because once Adobe bought them, I've just heard horror stories and frustrations of people, so I haven't even touched the new version. But the older versions of 2021 and back, you know, they were great, and so that's where I would go when starting to texture this. And yeah, it's like it's funny. I don't want it to look like lipstick. Like I don't want it to look like he's cross-dressing, but it's like, and so it's challenging with dudes. All right, so that's like a super quick and dirty kind of test. Yeah, I mean, it's looking good. It's looking like him. I mean, when we look at photos like these, it's actually not too far off. you know, especially like here, you see this. I think they did some moderate Photoshop, just tonality, or it could be makeup, just to keep it very uniform, the skin tone, and then just the lips are kind of what stand out. You can see strong similarities just in the basic, yeah, tonality. So anyway, interesting stuff. What's chat saying here? Because we're gonna be wrapping up here shortly. It's kind of a fun experiment. Might just to leave that around instead of redoing this. Duplicate that. Turn it off. Pull it down. Drop it to its lowest subdivision. Come back here and rewind time. It's like it looks more like him, and yeah, almost worse than this when you have like just that unnatural, just like clown, almost like clown makeup, except it's like skin tone colored makeup. But it gives it such a fake, because you don't have all the subtle, like, because faces are, we underestimate how complex faces are still. Like even in the skin tone, just the skin subsurface scattering, of course, which is light entering the skin and then sort of being bounced back, but it's being absorbed slightly, so that gives a luminosity to skin naturally. But then there's also all the subtle details of what, like, it's minor visual imperfections that pores give us, and then if there's any blemishes or, you know, any other subtle details, the veins underneath the face. There's a lot of different tonal color changes in the face too. Like around the eyes, he's got, like, you can see a good example of it here from this shot from the Matrix. You can see there's a bit more like reddish purple kind of hues around the eyes. And then you have a bit more red here, and you have a little bit more yellow. You're just talking about like pure raw tone colors. You know, it's like yellowish, pinkish, much more pinkish, purplish almost, like bluish almost. You got like kind of blues mixed in there. And you have like speckling of different colors, and then you have almost like a black, a gray, blue kind of tone for where the, you know, the stubble is or we grow. So yeah, it's just such a mixture of colors that we think of as just like we say white, right, for this face, this racial color, but it's still such a mixture of different colors. Um, it's interesting. Human anatomy is always fascinating to think about, and it's just a realization that there's so much more complexity to what our brains just view and simplify, to comprehend and function with. But when you really start to look and get down to the gritty of it, it's so much mixture of different tones. And you know, that's where if you're doing like a latex bust of somebody or something, or a mask, you got to go in there with an airbrush and just like dapple all these different colors within a certain range, you know, to give it that kind of vascularity, that look of veins underneath the face, because our faces are obviously like very blood filled. You know, that's why we blush. There's a lot of an intense amount of capillaries and blood vessels running throughout our whole face, of course, which is why a lighter skin tone folk, you see blood flow much more easily in the face. Yeah, so anyway, it always just adds a huge amount of color diversity to the skin tone of anybody. Even darker skinned people like myself, and much darker, you'll see still a vast color array when you really get into the specifics of it. There's never just one tone. It's many, many, many different tones of color mixed together. Yeah. Anyway, let's see here. What's the last couple things we've said? Just I agree. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So we're just about at 4, and I've got to bounce. Like I said, it's probably gonna only do an hour. I know I was late. I'm sorry. But I think we got some good progress still. Again, I mean, it looks more like him than ever. So yeah. Let's do a little quick save here. And then we'll save this as a proper file. Oops. And keep that number 7. Sure. And we're good. So yeah. All right, guys, ladies and gents, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, it's went by quick, actually. But I hope everyone has a good weekend. The rest of what's left of your weekend, that is. And yeah, I should be on the 11th, I believe, is the next time. So not next Sunday, but the following Sunday, I'll be back on. So anyway, be well, take care, have fun, get outside, get some sun. That's what I'm gonna do here in a minute, after I get my laundry started. All right, guys, thanks a lot.